Can't hear you.
All right. Lee, I think you can start.
We can start, huh? All right. Well, good morning. Just in case you didn't know, I'm Lee McAllister, chairperson of the OCC Cabinet and the Renovation Committee. And we're here today to talk about the sanctuary renovation and what we have planned to improve not only its appearance, but also its functionality. So this is a different environment. You know, who would have known 7 months ago we'd be doing anything like this? But you know, it's funny thing, in today's paper, the Target insert showed a full page of face masks for sale, and we're not talking Halloween masks either. So it's another thing that we didn't think we would be doing. So, so I'm here with Pastor Rick. He's operating as cameraman and head technician, and Tressa is here taking notes. Because as we did with the town hall meetings last year, I plan to distribute those via email, you know, all the questions and answers that we'll have today. So let's start out with a little prayer. Holy Father, we've gathered today in a different manner than we're accustomed to in order to talk about the vision we have for our sanctuary. Please be present with us as we contemplate the future of your church. Grant us the wisdom to make the right decisions as we go forward, and grant us the courage to overcome these difficult times we're experiencing. So in the name of your Son, Jesus our Redeemer, amen. So where are we? Well, let's start with the kitchen renovation. At the congregation meeting in January, you approved going ahead with that renovation. Our plans were completed, and we were all set to go last spring, and then COVID struck. The Meridian Township offices closed, and we weren't able to get a building permit. We didn't want to put it out for bid because if the township did make any changes, which they did, it's more expensive to add this to a contract than if the changes had been included from the very beginning. There are fees added, yada, yada. We did get the approval later in the summer. We put it out for bid and accepted the lowest one from Lux Construction of Mason. There are a lot of equipment orders on back order right now, once again due to COVID. So in fact, there's a 12-week lead time, so we won't see much action down there until later in November, with an estimated completion date of January 3rd of next year. The contractor simply doesn't want to start until we're closer to when the equipment it will be arriving. Doesn't want to start, stop, start again. The sanctuary renovation. Frankly, I was a young man when we started planning for this. You have no idea how big my files are on this project. Those plans also are complete, and we put this out for bid. Those are due back on October 20th. A group of us will review them on the 22nd and make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees, who actually approves it. We'll send out a letter to the congregation via email on October 28th with the details of what we can accomplish with the funds we have available. We don't plan to spend more than the amounts we have pledged for this campaign. So without first coming back to you, if that's even necessary. We'll have a ballot with that email, and you can print that off and mail it in, or simply email me with your yay or nay. It's important to note that each member gets a vote. So if there are 2 in a household or more, don't forget to indicate each person's preference. Those ballots will be due back no later than November 4th. My letter of October 1st indicated if you need a ballot mailed to you via the U.S. Postal Service, you need to contact the office by October 20th. Obviously, if you're on Zoom today, that doesn't apply to you, but if you know some people, you might want to remind them that they should contact the office. Now, when might we get started on the sanctuary renovation? Originally, we planned to start when the kitchen was done, and we would simply shift our services down to the social hall. It was going to be like clockwork, flowing from one project into the other. But obviously, COVID had other plans, and we aren't even together as a congregation yet. The combined cabinet and board of trustees is meeting on Tuesday to discuss when we might reopen the church. That will determine whether or not we could do the two renovations together if the contractor is available to start right away. And we won't know that until the bids come in on the 20th. But that would mean we couldn't meet as a congregation until the social hall is available after that June 3rd completion date, or January 3rd completion date. So right now, we're kind of in limbo. I should say, I add a note about this. Potentially, we might not see the sanctuary as it is today. If that happens, Rick has indicated he'll set up some times where you can come in and say goodbye to this special place before the renovation starts. It's a good idea. A big part of the renovation is the upgrade of our technology. We have electronic displays up front to enhance our services. We'll be able to record and distribute those services so we can reach out to those who, for whatever reason, can't attend in person. Currently, Rick uses his smartphone to record his sermons. And I must admit, I look forward to seeing what new location he'll be in each week and how he'll draw some analogy comparing to something in the Bible. I enjoy the visual of that. And I look forward to the visuals we can add through the electronic displays when we're back here, there, now in the sanctuary. We're in the chapel today. This might be a good time to thank Pastor Rick for all the hard work he's done so we can receive his midweek devotionals and the Sunday sermons electronically, as well as all the other Zoom meetings, pastor in the parking lot, Zoom coffee, and goes on. This Zoom meeting today is certainly new for us as a congregation. This has been a very stressful time for all of us, and we're grateful that even though we can't meet in person, we can still continue to receive these messages that give us hope. And incidentally, October is Pastor Appreciation Month, so you might want to take some actions accordingly, as this past Friday's bulletin indicated. The Renovation Committee met a while back, and Daisy Bettner led us in an exercise that ranked every proposed change to the sanctuary against each of the other changes. So for example, if there were 20 changes and you compared each one to each other, there were 400 rankings that you would have to make. Now I must admit, about halfway through, my ADD kicked in, but we made it. And closed with my letter of October 1st was this spreadsheet. No, you can't see it, but if you have your letter referenced, and I think Rick's bringing it up. Oh, it worked. This is wonderful. The spreadsheet listing the priorities in the order of what we hope to accomplish. The colors indicated merely group similar things together. Are they structural? Do they involve the AV system? That type of thing. And you don't want to include everything up front and then try to figure out how to back it out if the money isn't available. So in one column is indicated whether the item is part of the base bid or an alternate. We'd like to do it all, but we'll have to see how the bids stack up. And then depending on the costs, we'll try to do as many of the alternates as possible. On the other hand, you don't want to have too many alternates. It just gets confusing. So we decided to eliminate the two small items at the bottom indicated in red, refurbishing of the usher's closet out in the narthex, and the sacristy area in the corner behind the choir. It's a hallway that most people would never even know is there. We wanted to change the sacristy to make it a staging area for communion Sundays so the team wouldn't have to go up and down the stairs to the kitchen. Deb daughter is not getting any younger. So perhaps these could be future memorial or endowment projects, just to wrap things up. So what's in the base bid? Some of the big ticket items are those things that are required of us. A ramp for accessibility to the chancel area, removal of the asbestos tile under our feet, reconfiguring the balcony, and adding a safety railing. These are changes I talked about in our town hall meetings last year. So what has changed since then? Our current lighting, for one. It turns out the lights would interfere with the sight line for recording purposes. It was recommended that as long as we had to raise them, we might as well replace them with new LED fixtures to save on energy consumption and for the ease of maintenance. Changing the bulbs in there as they burn out is not an easy feat. A big alternate is a new air conditioning system. When our existing ones were installed, it was permitted for them to be exhausted through the glass side windows. That isn't allowed now. As the units start to fail, not only could we not find replacement because they're old technology, but we would have to reroute the exhaust to go through the walls instead of the windows. We added this as an alternate if money is available, because we'll eventually have to make that decision to replace these as they break down. Our thoughts are this might be the time to bite the bullet, even though it kills me to possibly sacrifice other improvements that would have more visual impact. Now, as far as the other things we hope to accomplish, we want to replace our pews with ones in a curve pattern to mimic the curve of the new chancel area and what Rick refers to as the rotunda out on the entry. I love that. I just love it. This will make us feel closer as a congregation, as we can see each other, as we're seated. There'll be space further apart to give us easier accessibility. There's a diagram of this in my letter as well. It's a little, might be hard to understand, but it is there as well. We'll have 2 rows of chairs in the front that can be removed as needed. An improved system, both digital and Bluetooth, for those with hearing difficulties. We'll cover the walls to improve their appearance, and of course, replace our asbestos flooring with a combination of ceramic tile and carpeting. Now, in regards to our tile under the pews, it'll be the same as we already have out in the entry for some continuity. And we'll have carpeting down the aisles as we do now. The change is that we'll see, we'll have different tile in the narthex and the chancel, but it'll be lighter in color to brighten it up for ease of maintenance. Currently, we have carpeting in both of those areas, while the chancel has some tile. We'll freshen up the doors. Originally, we wanted to replace the doors, but we're going to freshen them up with new operating hardware and kick plates. However, the doors from the entry hall into the narthex will be replaced with glass framed in wood to make it more inviting and, frankly, recognizable as the entry to the sanctuary. If you were a visitor today, you might not know that, oh, through these big wooden doors is the sanctuary. So what monies do we have available? We have pledges of around $1,600,000 for both renovations. After deducting campaign expenses, architect fees for the duration of the renovations, asbestos removal, and the cost of renovating the kitchen, we'll have about $1,080,000 for the sanctuary. So far, we've collected $946,000 of those pledges, or about 59%, and we're only a little more than a year into a 3-year pledge campaign. So thank you very much. That will help us keep the interest costs down on any construction loan we need until those pledges are paid off. As long as we're talking about money, one last point. Let's talk about the general operating fund. So far, we're doing okay. We've maintained a positive balance, which I don't think is typical for many churches right now. I know attendance at church often triggers the reminder to pay your pledge. Even though we can't be together, it's vital that you keep up your financial support. When you receive your September statement of giving, please take note whether or not you're current. If not, please try to correct that before the end of the year. Most of our expenses are fixed in nature, so they continue on, whether we're meeting or not. So thank you for attending today. I'm going to open this up for questions at this point. This is where it might get a little tricky. But so please wave your hand if you have a question, or type it into your chat line, Rick says, and we'll get to you. So We are ready.
Not seeing any hands yet. No typed questions.
While we're waiting, could talk that, we'll also be discussing on Tuesday about, what the stewardship campaign will look like. Normally, that's another thing where we have some people talking during the month of October, from the, the chancel. And so that's going to have to be different this year. So we're going to try to address those issues on Tuesday as well. So Claudia Brown will be addressing that. Is there anybody waving their hand yet?
I don't see any hands yet.
It looks like Claudia has a question.
I'm not hearing. Looks
I
like
do.
Quinn has one.
No, Claudia does.
You need to
I do.
unmute.
Okay.
That's Quinn.
Here's my question.
Uh-oh.
What is that? Is that me? I saw in the notes beside the picture in that that Rick just put up that there's a 3.5-foot drop from the what is that called? The chancel to the,
No, it's
No.
not a drop, it's width.
Oh, it's a width.
it's width. Okay.
Yes.
That's good.
That's
I
where
was
in
just
that
thinking
diagram,
about
it doesn't
It's sitting
show.
up there.
Yeah, it doesn't show, but because the color tone is the same, but really under the pews or around the pews is a little line drawn
Okay.
tile, and then the
Okay.
aisles are the carpet, and then up front underneath the chairs is all carpeting.
Okay. And then it'll be sort of like it is now with one step up and then another step up?
Yes,
Okay.
only they'll be wider.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
So basically, from the ramp, you're able to access any of those steps at different levels.
Okay.
Maybe ask them to just unmute themselves and talk if they have a question. Looks like Martha has a question. That's mine.
All right, Martha, you
Yes.
have a question?
Yes, I do. Other than mention of a higher railing on the balcony, what do the current plans call for in terms of what will be done with the balcony?
They're going to build a structure over the existing steps that are up there. If you've ever been in the balcony, there's no room at all between the pews. I mean, you can barely get your legs through there, let alone sit down. So they're going to restructure the platform, build right over the old one, take out a row of pews, and make those areas wider. And then the sound booth or new recording station is going to move down toward the front. So they don't, they're not, no obstructions there. And then that's the only area of the balcony, I think, where there is no railing per se. But then the railing will go across because that's always been where if you're in that front area of the balcony, the existing railing hits you about at your knee. So it's not particularly a good situation. It was okay at the time, that was code, but now they want to be higher. And we're getting a quote on the difference between glass or just simply, some other kind of solid railing across there. Glass would be preferred.
Will it be as steeply pitched?
Oh yeah, we're going to one aisle too, rather than two. Yeah, I didn't bring that in. So, any other questions?
Laurie had typed a question that will the piano be able to be moved to the middle of the
Can
chancel?
you hear that?
Yes. Will the piano be able to be moved to the center? You might want to talk about that.
Yes, the diagram we sent out doesn't indicate there's actually a platform on the left side of the chancel where the piano Rick has kind of drawn it in, where the piano could be shifted over to the other side for various functions and concerts. Actually, when the piano is shifted that way, it opens to the congregation, and you're actually able to hear the piano more. So we wanted that functionality. And then the like they are now, the modesty panels in front of the choir can be removed so we can accommodate that.
What about the baptism font in the middle in front of those panels? Is that movable as well?
Didn't hear that.
Was Jonathan talking?
Ask them to repeat.
Jonathan, could you repeat that?
Sure. What about the baptismal font that's in front of the modesty panels? Is that movable as well? Could the piano
Yes.
be in the center?
Right. Everything, the pulpit and the baptismal font are all removable, as well as the new table that will replace the altar. Oh. Rick is moving so we don't get the feedback. Any other questions?
I have another question, Martha.
Uh-oh.
If we placed the current layout on top of this, we would see obviously the difference between curved pews and straight ones. Am I correct in thinking that it also, the seating has been reduced by some amount because of these changes, the pews further apart and the configuration?
No.
The seating is reduced because of
The spacing?
the spacing.
Yes, I don't know the exact number. It seems to me like it was around 50 seats that we lose. But it gives us more accessibility, and really, unless on special occasions, we aren't filling that sanctuary anyway. So it just makes it easier to get in and out of there. And there are, I don't know if on the current plan, yeah, there's a few spaces back for handicap seating of people in wheelchairs or whatever too, to try to accommodate that as well. I know we wanted to do that because we don't want to tell people as they're coming in and have some kind of handicap, oh, we have chairs down in front specifically for you. So so they will be spaced along the sides toward the back as well. I'm ready for another question.
A written question, would that also be reduction of seats in the balcony?
Yes, there is so we have a written question that would also be a reduction of seats in the balcony as well. So we are eliminating a row there in order to make that spacing better. So, yep, we lose them there too. I'll get that number out in my email about what the reduction in the seating is. I know we have that balance between the two, that we have to do something in the balcony because I believe it was 25%. If that represents 25% of your seating, you have to put an elevator to the balcony. So we needed to either shut the balcony off or reduce the seating up there as well.
Lee, this is Daisy Bettner. I think some compensation is we will have the video capability out into the lounge area in the chapel.
Yes.
We need overflow seating out there potentially.
Right. For really, let's say if we had a large funeral, we're going to have the ability to watch the service from the lounge area and the chapel. And there's also, not that we would have it there, but in the nursery, and at least set it up for the social hall as well. We might not have the equipment down there right away, like the electronic monitors, but at least we'll have it wired for the possibility of having overflow into the social hall. Let's make these questions a little more rapid fire. This is like watching paint dry.
You just did such a good job covering it, we don't have any questions.
Oh, that's true, probably.
So the other two sessions will essentially be the same as this then?
Yes. Unless you're a glutton for punishment, you don't need to attend those because it'll be the same presentation. So.
I have another question, Lee. Oops.
Oh, okay. Yes, we will be recording these and they'll be available on YouTube. So you can watch the same thing over again.
Oh, good.
So.
I have a question, Lee. On the ramp part, you know, the part with the ramp, if somebody doesn't want to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, can they just go up the ramp on the right there? Like, can
No.
somebody with a walker? You can't? Okay.
No,
Somebody with a
You can get
walker
off
just
at
wants
each-
to step up there and go?
you could go off at each step. It doesn't show, I think on the diagram, it's showing where there's a railing on the top and then where it'll all be glass. But no, you have to follow that pattern to go
Oh,
up, but you can get
okay.
off at any level.
Okay. Thanks.
Lori? Rick thought, Lori, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Lori, are you awake? Did you have a question?
Sorry, maybe you couldn't see me. No, I do not have a question other than the one I typed in earlier. Thanks,
Alright.
Lee.
Well,
Did you find the table for the center?
Did you find a table for the center?
no, we've not found that yet.
Okay.
We did, well, I take that back. Rick attended a service or went and saw something that a church over on the west side had done where they had the table, pulpit, and baptismal font all in kind of a more contemporary style that we gave to the pew people. That Souder Pew Company in Indiana. And they're kind of looking at that to say, could they do it? Kind of a custom design. So we have some ideas at least about where we could go.
Would you tell us in the front, I know what the table is, it's the big round circle, but what's the white square? Is that the baptismal font?
I didn't hear that.
What are the white squares in the drawing? I'm not sure what they all are. I think one is a chair for the preacher. one
Yep.
is a font, and one is,
Oh, yeah. The pulpit.
So the pulpit is the square within the square, so it'll be sort of where it is now. Is that right?
So they are all movable. So
Okay.
so those things will all move around as we need them moved around.
I have a question. In the first series of town hall meetings, there was discussion of recycling opportunities, for example, the pews. Has any of that been explored or is being contemplated as we move toward, dismantling what we have in preparation for the renovation?
Yes, I contacted Gail Catron. In a previous meeting, she indicated that she might have some contacts. And if anybody else does too, we'll certainly entertain that. But she's going to be making, touching base with those people to say, can you use these pews or can you use the wood in the pews? I mean, this is old oak. So they might be able to use that for other purposes and not specifically as a pew. So, or at least starting to pursue that. I want to get her started on that as soon as we can. So the pews will be I think the thing with the longest lead time. At this point, they're telling us now it's a 4-month before you can get that, they can, from the point to order them until the point of installation. So we needed to get going on that. And actually it's the asbestos people, the asbestos removal people will be the ones taking out the pews, obviously, in order to remove all the tile that's there. So we need to get going on that right away. Oh yeah, another thing that Rick reminds me is that the carpeting is all squares, and I believe they're 2-foot square that will go down. So if there's any damage of any kind, you can always pull out that square and replace it. So that will be ease of maintenance as well in the future. So, but that entails you have to have extra carpet squares, but normally you have those left over anyway. So.
Corey mentioned Midwest Distribution Center might be able to be.
Midwest Distribution.
This is Joan Witter. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know whether you can see me. We have a question about where there are going to be some kind of monitors or screen or whatever in the sanctuary. Where will those be located?
Yep. Yes, in the original drawings, we had multiple monitors along the sides, electronic displays. And now they've convinced us that the better option to go is this 2 larger ones up front, and then there'll be one on the, let's say, the balcony, so the people in the chancel area, the choir and Rick, can see. And I'd have to double check to see whether or not if there are smaller ones in the balcony. I'm not sure whether they eliminated those or not. So we'll get back to you on that about specifically the balcony, but basically it's the 2 larger ones up front. Where we got those slanted open grills, that's where the larger monitors will go. And all the glass that's in the right-hand side, kind of representing various things, those can all be shifted up. So we'll still maintain those. And on the left-hand side of the screen, that's all solid anyway, so we don't have anything really to be concerned with there. But
You want to tell them the choir monitors on the back as well?
oh yes, that's true. On the back side of the larger monitors up front will be the monitors for the choir, so we'll be able to see not only just down on the balcony, but also the back side of those larger monitors. So, and then there'll be improved sound system through. So we should have more. And the new lights coming in, we're told, are going to be, I thought it was twice as bright. So we'll be able to see better as well, and all be dimmable. Right now we've got regular fixtures with LED lights, or no, LED lights. So they're not always dimmable as we would like. So, and we've been having them go out because we've been trying to put an LED fixture, LED bulb into a regular fixture, and so they don't last as long in that type of use, particularly on the wattage that we have to have. So that's why, you know, we're looking at replacing the lights too. So
In the previous drawing, it appeared that there was.
the new pews will be cushioned, and we're going to put cushions on the back as well. I know there's some issues with acoustics regarding that, but it's really no different than if you had all those pews filled. So it just will make it more comfortable to be in a pew with cushions underneath you as well as at your back.
In the previous drawing that you showed with the location of the monitors, there appeared to be sort of like panels or something like a screen in front of, so you'd kind of be looking up. Did you put up that?
Those are not in the current plan. That's part of the
Screens. Yeah, really the only thing that's changing up front are those two larger monitors.
Okay, but those beige panels, what are those?
I think she's talking about.
Oh, here?
Yeah. This.
Oh, okay. Those might have been in a previous design. We didn't have the latest version because it was going to be very expensive to have new ones drawn up. So those were low walls that we will not have in the future.
Good.
We're trying to economize and save all of our money. So we didn't have new drawings made up.
That's good. Lee, what's the flooring in the narthex? It looks like it's tile.
It is tile. So I said that was one of the changes we made. It was all tile in the chancel as well as the narthex. And it's a lighter color.
Okay.
And they wanted to have that, you know, little contrast there so you know you're entering a different space when you come in from the entry into the narthex. Now you're entering a more, you know, sacred place. And then the walls in there behind the where the coat racks are, that's kind of got warped paneling there. That's going to be replaced with drywall and kind of a vinyl, very heavy duty wall covering over it. And then also there's on the opposite walls where we've got kind of our fire alarms now. Those panels are also warped or have been patched over the years. So that will be drywall and the same thing. So as long as we're talking about it right now, our plans were we're going to drywall over the cement block in the sanctuary, but they're investigating a new methodology where they put a kind of a thin coat of cushion over the cement block and could put that same vinyl on the walls. Very durable. And then you don't have all the problem with the drywall dust when they're putting it all up. So that's another option they're looking at. So I've changed my little presentation from we're adding drywall. Now we're just saying we're covering those walls in some manner. So.
There's a question about how will coats be handled.
Coats will be the same way. We'll still have all those coat racks out there, but rather than the wood paneling behind, there will be this vinyl wall covering. So, and there'll be a little bit. The original plan was we would have a little bit extra seating out there as well. So if we got, you know, mother wants to take the child out, could still be in the narthex area, and they'll be able to hear out there. You know, they'll be a little bit better because sometimes all those glass panels are closed. So we're going to try to accommodate having that a little additional seating out there for whatever reason. So
Are the glass panels staying the way they are now in the back?
I'm not getting that.
Are the glass panels staying the way they are now in the back? I think she needs to be in our section.
Yes, those all remain.
I'm just thinking of how noisy the sink or the narthex is going to be with tile floors. I understand the keeping it nice and keeping it cleaner and everything, but before church when we're practicing, sometimes it's really loud back there now.
I'm missing all that, so.
The noise factor in the narthex that right now, like when the choir is rehearsing, it can be loud from people in the narthex talking.
Well.
I know, it's okay.
Yeah,
We'll have to shut everything maybe.
yeah, it's not, at least, you know, when those, if the windows are closed, yeah, we're gonna have to remind people that when you're sitting in the narthex, you can be heard in the sanctuary, so.
Right. Thanks.
Well, I have to try to have a little quiet sign out there.
Elaine has a question.
Lee, as you know, I've been on the committee working with everyone throughout. I had, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I had suggested having carpet in the narthex, and that got overruled, and I can't remember why we thought carpeting wouldn't be feasible out there.
I think the primary thing is maintenance of it. We're hoping that most of the dirt and soil gets off your feet by the time you get to the carpeting area, and by having tile out there, and to brighten it up. We want a lighter flooring out there because that's a dark area to begin with. So we want a lighter flooring, and yet you don't want to have white carpeting. So I think that's the primary reason. And then, you know, when you do step onto the stairway going to the balcony, that switches back to carpeting, because going upstairs with tile is a little more difficult to say. So that's the reason why we switched.
Okay, but we did explore it, yeah.
Likewise, another thing we considered was, you know, we want carpeting underneath the chairs that are up front, because chairs shifting around on the tile could be noisy. So I said, no, it's better to have carpeting there.
Got one for you. You had mentioned that the contractor removes the tiles, will also be removing the pews. Are the bids written so that the contractors do all demo work, or are there opportunities for the congregation to do anything to help with cost?
The cost.
Repeat the question because everyone probably didn't see it.
Okay, the question is that the way, you know, I mentioned is that the asbestos removal contractor is also taking out the pews. And is there any benefit to having perhaps the congregation do that? It was an add-on to the asbestos contract to remove and dispose of the pews. It's really minimal. Now, some of those, I know the one on the balcony, you know, there some are very long, so getting those out will be difficult. So I don't see any, you know, most people I think would be gladly pay, you know, the small sum of money that it's going to take to remove those pews. And I can look up and see, and I'll put that in my notes as well, how much that was, but it didn't add much to the asbestos contract to do that. So, and obviously it has to be done prior to, you know, that, because there's tile underneath those pews. The pews are set down right on the tile and drilled into the concrete, so.
There's a question or a comment from Lori, many times tile is covered with walk-off matting, not a great look in the narthex.
Oh, we don't plan on anything like that. I think you mean rugs. Look, in case you didn't hear it, the question is that sometimes there's walk-off matting put down over tile, much as like we do at our entry. And yeah, we'd prefer not to do that. We've got those out at the entry, so when people come in, hopefully, you know, most of the stuff is off your shoes by the time you get to the narthex even. But I know in the winter, the salt goes all over the tile everywhere. But we don't plan on having any mats in the narthex. So we would like to keep that as clean as possible from the standpoint of the looks. So. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, I might end it at this point then. So thank you for attending. So this has certainly been informative in how we're doing this, but the technical side of all this is certainly new to me and to all of us. So thank you. And our next one, if people ask, is going to be Friday at, I believe, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we're gonna have another one on the following Monday at 7 o'clock. So we're trying to hit whenever people are available. So, and then this will be on the YouTube for our, so anybody can watch it anytime.
Great job, Lee.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee.
Yeah.
I hope to see you soon.
Yep, good job.
God, I like going to meetings in my couch.